I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network, and this is a breaking news alert. Donald Trump has taken to his social media platform and attacked and disparaged the federal district court judge, Judge David Carter, who yesterday made a ruling in the John Eastman case involving disputes over John Eastman not turning over records to the January 6th committee. Judge David Carter made very specific findings of criminal conduct that Donald Trump engaged in order to find that the crime fraud exception to attorney-client privilege applied, thus turning over a batch of records to the January 6th committee in a very scathing ruling. Well, Donald Trump took to his social media platform, attacked Judge David Carter. I've appeared before Judge David Carter in my legal career. He is one of the most respected judicial officers, not just in California, but in the world. He is not known to be a partisan person at all. He is known to be one of the most hardworking and determined judges that there are, a law and order, no nonsense judge. And this is a judge who Donald Trump attacked. Let me read the statement first. Let me tell you about my experience with Judge David Carter and who Judge David Carter is. A hardworking judge, a war hero, a true patriot of the United States of America, and these attacks are despicable. Let me read for you Donald Trump's statements. Donald Trump writes, "Who's this Clinton-appointed, quote, judge, David Carter, who keeps saying and sending to all very nasty, wrong, and ill-informed statements about me on rulings or case whatever currently going on in California that I know nothing about, nor am I represented. With that being said, please explain to this partisan hack that the presidential election of 2020 was rigged and stolen. Also, he shouldn't be making statements about me until he understands the facts, which he doesn't." Before going into the ad hominem personal attacks that Donald Trump made on Judge David Carter, putting judge in quotes and calling him a partisan hack and saying all these horrible things about him, let me first, though, address something in this message that Donald Trump wrote. He goes, "Nor am I represented." Hey, Donald Trump, guess who is the individual who initiated this lawsuit? John Eastman. Do you know who John Eastman is? Well, if you don't, then there should be no claims of attorney-client privilege at all, because John Eastman, the person who filed this case, which is before Judge David Carter, is your lawyer, is an individual who is asserting attorney-client privilege, ostensibly a privilege that you must be asserting. And if you're not asserting the privilege, then perhaps all of the other records should go to the January 6th committee, because the privilege is actually held by the client, not by the attorney. So when you say, "I know nothing about," you know nothing about the federal case that your own lawyer filed asserting attorney-client privilege on your behalf in a federal court in the Central District of California. You're unaware of those proceedings. Well, if you're unaware of those proceedings, then I think, as I mentioned before, attorney-client privilege should not apply at all. I think the January 6th committee should go back in front of Judge David Carter and haul your ass into court and demand an evidentiary hearing and put you in there to see if you actually do know about those proceedings, put you under oath in front of Judge David Carter. I bet I know what you'll do. I bet you'll take the Fifth Amendment each and every time, like you did when Letitia James tried to depose you. I bet that's what you should do. By the way, I think that's what the January 6th committee should do. They should demand an evidentiary hearing in light of this statement that Donald Trump made, because if he's claiming he doesn't know about this, then there's no attorney-client privilege in the first place. I'll do another video on that, but let me address right now this issue about him putting Judge David Carter in quotes. Let me tell you about Judge David Carter as a California lawyer. Judge David Carter was actually called King David by plaintiffs' lawyers, defense lawyers, criminal lawyers in the mid-90s. He was the main supervising judge of all of Orange County Superior Criminal Courts. He started off in 1981 as a municipal judge. He is a war hero. He is a Marine. He was injured in combat. He fought in Vietnam in the battle that is taught a lot in Khe Sanh, the battle where 6,000 Marines in the northwest, in South Vietnam, in the northwest region, in basically 4-kilometer high mountains in deep jungle, you had 6,000 Marines who fought against 20,000 North Vietnamese in a battle that is talked about in history books, one of the most brutal battles, one of the most highly publicized battles. Judge David Carter fought in that battle valiantly and was injured fighting for our country as a Marine. Became a judge in 1981, became the supervising judge of all Orange County criminal courts, was appointed as a federal judge by Bill Clinton in 1998, has served in the Central District Federal Court in the Southern Division in Orange County. One of the things that lawyers know about Judge David Carter, he shows up to the court early. Most court appearances start 8:30. Judge David Carter, it's not surprising sometimes if he starts his court as early as 6 a.m., 6:15 a.m., and goes until midnight if he has to, because he wants to be there and get it right. One of the things that David Carter has also pioneered is rehabilitating felons. He's focused on tattoo removals and making sure that the criminals who appear before them have a second chance at life and could repent for the criminal conduct. He was known for implementing programs like that as a superior criminal court judge and as a federal judge in the Central District court system, but viewed as he's a tough judge. He gets the facts right. He's probably the hardest working judge. Ask all judges. They'll tell you, Judge David Carter is a legend. One of the most hardest working judges that there is, one of the most professional and incredible court staffs that there are, the least partisan person in the world, whether you're a plaintiff's lawyer, a defense lawyer, whether you are a prosecutor, whether you're representing criminal defendants who go before him, or whether you are an attorney general or an AUSA. David Carter treats you fairly. You know when you show up in front of Judge David Carter that you better be prepared with the facts and the law. It's a no BS court. He smokes BS out. The moment he starts talking to you, he comes very well prepared. But that is the exact type of judge who Donald Trump wants to attack. Donald Trump has always attacked federal judges, going back, 80s and the 90s. But just remember, as he was running for president in 2016, remember Judge Gonzalo Curiel, the judge overseeing in San Diego the fraud case against Donald Trump, which I think Trump eventually settled, the Trump University fraud cases. I think there's some still pending, but he settled a lot of that class action. And Trump said, oh, he's being unfair to me because he's Mexican. He literally said that. Trump said that, he slammed Judge Curiel. He said Judge Curiel was being unfair to him because the judge was a Mexican. I mean, that is the type of caliber of person Donald Trump is. And Judge Curiel, known as being also a very well-respected, hard-working law and order judge. Who's the judge that Donald Trump actually wants? He wants a judge like Judge Eileen Cannon. He wants an inexperienced, and everything's projection with Donald Trump, political hack, because that is a true political hack. Someone who completely ignores the law and asserts equitable jurisdiction in a criminal investigation by the Department of Justice, stating that the Department of Justice can't have access to their own executive documents and that they can't use that to pursue their criminal investigation. A total misapplication of the law by Judge Eileen Cannon. But that's the type of judge that Donald Trump appointed when he was president. there he has appointed some judges who I think have actually done a good job and actually uphold the law. But by and large, lots of inexperienced judges like Judge Eileen Cannon. By the way, the Bar Association, the ABA, the people who rank judges, whether they're qualified, there have been so many unqualified judges who Donald Trump appointed to the bench. I recall these hearings, and you may remember them as well, when Trump would appoint these judges and they would go before the Senate before a vote, and they'd be asked questions. How many people here have ever been in a trial? No one would raise their hand who Trump wanted to appoint as a judge. Okay. How many people have actually attended a deposition? Maybe you'd have one individual or two people from like a table of like 6 or 7 judges. Like one of them actually was in a deposition in their entire career. And then they would be asked a question. Okay, did you take the questions? No. So what'd you do at the deposition? Oh, I sat there. Like, so people who haven't even taken depositions, yet alone been at trials, these are people who Donald Trump appointed as federal judges. This is what is so important, though, about people understanding the way our system works. Because when Donald Trump became president, one of the powers that he has is to appoint Article 3 judges who were voted on by the Senate and confirmed, and he appointed the most inexperienced people. Meanwhile, when you had Democratic administrations, and frankly, even prior Republican administrations at least appointed qualified people who I may disagree with on political issues, but at least qualified. Trump appointed just completely unqualified people. But look at Judge David Carter's background. This is the type of person MAGA attacks. The same way they attack war heroes like John McCain, someone like Judge David Carter, who's devoted himself to our judicial system basically his entire adult life, who fought as a Marine in one of the hardest fought battles in the Vietnam War. This is someone who Donald Trump is saying judge in quotation marks and saying that this judge doesn't understand the facts. Look, Donald Trump, your lawyer, John Eastman, is the person litigating this action. He's the one submitting the facts. Your freaking lawyer, John Eastman. And the judge has to make this analysis because to determine if attorney-client privilege applies, one of the exceptions is the crime fraud exception. So in analyzing these documents submitted by your lawyer, John Eastman, who initiated this lawsuit, Judge Carter has to do a 2-step approach. 1, was a crime committed? And 2, are the documents related to that crime? So he made a finding after getting all the evidence submitted by your lawyer. Your lawyer submitted the evidence that, yes, there was a crime committed, obstruction and conspiracy to overthrow the United States government was the finding that Judge Carter made with documents your lawyer submitted. That's where those findings were made. And were the documents in connection with that? Yes, they were. He found actually that there was a lot of documents, even though you engaged in the crime, that were not related to the crime, and found that those still remained privileged. But he found that there were documents like you submitting a declaration, a false declaration under penalty of perjury, where there were emails from your lawyer stating that you knew that you were signing a false declaration. That's what your lawyer said in the email. That's what Judge Carter made in Judge Carter's findings. He read the email and he wrote about the email where your lawyer said that that was a false information. These statements you were making about people who were dead in Georgia who were voting and fake ballots, that you were just lying about that. And then also that the efforts to go to the Supreme Court were not actually for a valid legal basis, but to delay the process and to further your crimes. Those are emails by your freaking lawyer. Look, I take this a little bit personally as a California lawyer, knowing, look, I appeared a few times in Judge David Carter. I've had one very, very big case before Judge David Carter involving a securities fraud issue where my firm was appointed as the SEC's counsel. We were what's called conflict counsel in a case to help civilly prosecute a massive billion-dollar Ponzi scheme was what we were hired to do. And so I've appeared before Judge David Carter before. And that and in I think a few other cases I've appeared before him. But Judge David Carter is just known as a no-nonsense, hardworking judge who's done so much for our judicial system, who's done so much for criminal justice, and for Donald Trump to state that, it's just freaking pathetic. But I'm going to make another video on this, and I'm going to give a message to the January 6th committee, because the next video I'm going to make, I want to explain why I believe the January 6th committee should now demand Donald Trump testify before Judge David Carter, because I believe that this statement right here is a total waiver of the attorney-client privilege. Donald Trump is claiming that he doesn't even know about these proceedings, so how could he have even asserted a privilege to begin with that exists? So they should call Donald Trump, make him take the witness stand before Judge David Carter. I'm going to lay out how I think the January 6th committee could do that, if they want my legal advice. And anyway, in any event, I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hey, hit the subscribe button right now. We are on our way to 1 million subscribers. Thanks to you. Hit subscribe right now. And in addition, if you want to support and grow this independent media network, here's how you at home or wherever you are can help, no matter where you are in the world. Go to patreon.com/MeidasTouch. patreon.com/MeidasTouch, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. There are a number of exclusive membership packages that you can join. You can become an honorary producer of the MeidasTouch podcast, and your name will appear at the end of the podcast. Get postcards for me and my brothers, get exclusive podcasts, get exclusive interviews, get exclusive merch and other features, depending on which membership package you check out. But no matter what, we don't have any outside investors. So if you want to help be a part of growing this independent media network as we take on the billion-dollar both side-isms media, if you want to play a role and helping us grow, please, I'm asking you for your help. Go to Patreon, patreon.com/MeidasTouch now. Thank you.
At MeidasTouch, we are unapologetically pro-democracy, and we demand justice and accountability. That's why we're spreading our message to Convict 45. That's right, gear up right now with your Convict 45 tees and pins at store.MeidasTouch.com. That's store.MeidasTouch.com.